During a quiet lunch break at a media firm in Los Angeles, a black woman unlocked her phone. She snapped a photo of her pay stub and posted it on Twitter with a single line, 6 years here and I make half of what the new guy makes. No shouting, no accusations, just facts. The room fell silent. No one responded. But within 3 hours, the post hit 80,000 shares. By hour 6, corporate HQ had called for an emergency board meeting. What kind of truth could collapse a long-standing system with just one tweet? Stay with us to see how a woman overlooked for years finally made the whole world stop and listen. Denise Allen, 33, is a senior content strategist at one of the largest media companies in Los Angeles. She's the only black woman on a creative team of over 40 people. Most of her colleagues don't know she graduated from UCLA with honors, or that she once led a viral campaign that doubled brand engagement in less than a week. Her name was left off the press release. She didn't say a word. She dresses simply, neutral tones, practical shoes, always on time. Never at the after-hours events, never in the group chat gossip. She sits at her desk, headphones in, deadlines met, feedback welcomed. One day her manager described her as the kind of person who holds things together quietly. It wasn't meant as praise. It was how they justified passing her over, year after year. Denise picks up the slack when others fall short. She rewrites proposals, fixes code in the back end of CMS systems, even trains new hires on tools she was never formally assigned to. She doesn't complain, doesn't push. She just delivers. In team meetings, she rarely speaks unless prompted, but when she does, she's crisp, prepared, and on point. Others often echo her ideas minutes later, louder, and somehow they're the ones who get the nods. She sees the pattern. She's felt the cold edge of it since her first promotion was delayed for budget reasons, while a less experienced colleague advanced. But she never stopped showing up, never stopped hoping that one day excellence would be undeniable. Because Denise doesn't want special treatment. She just wants fairness. She believes that if she does her job well enough, someone will notice, someone will speak up, someone will say she deserves more. But that day never came. So one afternoon, after another small slight, another silent swallow of pride, she opened her phone and made a decision. Quiet but deliberate. Despite her seniority, Denise was consistently left off the list when major projects came up. Even when she had more experience than the people selected, she was told the teams needed a fresh perspective. That phrase repeated itself like an echo, never defined, always exclusionary. She submitted ideas regularly, detailed outlines, backed by data, sharp but subtle. They sat in inboxes without reply. Then, weeks later, those same ideas would reappear, repackaged by others, praised as innovative. No one looked her way. No one said thank you. Invitations to industry conferences, networking panels, or mentorship programs always landed on the desks of the younger, louder men in the department. "You've got your head down doing great work," her manager once told her, as if that were a consolation. As if visibility wasn't part of the job. At the year-end review meeting, they passed around a slide deck celebrating achievements. Denise had contributed to every campaign mentioned, but her name never appeared. She clapped with everyone else. Then she went back to her desk and reopened a draft she'd rewritten for someone who had just been publicly applauded. One afternoon, she asked about a raise. Calmly, privately. Her manager glanced at his watch. "It's just not the right time," he said. No eye contact, no explanation. The meeting ended in under 5 minutes. Then came the moment that shifted everything. She'd been reviewing internal documents for a new hire. Standard onboarding logistics. A spreadsheet was still open on the shared server. Denise recognized the name. He had joined the team 2 months ago, just out of grad school. His salary was nearly double hers. At first, she thought it was a mistake. She read it twice, then a third time. She compared role descriptions, years of experience, job output. Her chest tightened, but she didn't panic. She walked to her manager's office and asked calmly, "Can we talk about compensation?" He didn't flinch, didn't even ask why. Just waved a hand and muttered, "Everyone negotiates differently, Denise. You agreed to your number." That night, she sat at her kitchen table, the screen of her phone glowing against the silence. She didn't text a friend. She didn't draft an email. She opened Twitter, because she realized something. Silence doesn't make you safe. It just makes you invisible. It started with an email. Denise composed it after 2 days of walking around with the number in her head. She didn't rant, didn't accuse. She outlined her concerns clearly, how the salary structure seemed inconsistent, how internal evaluations lacked transparency. She ended with a question. Can we review the compensation framework for fairness and consistency? 3 hours later, the reply came back from her manager. If this environment no longer feels aligned with your expectations, you may consider transitioning to another team. It wasn't a no. It wasn't a yes. It was a reminder. She wasn't supposed to ask questions, but the moment had already opened something in her. In the next team meeting, she didn't wait to be called on. She raised her hand mid-discussion and asked simply, "Why is a new hire making twice as much as I am for the same job?" The room stiffened. A few people looked down at their notepads. Most stayed quiet. Her manager adjusted his glasses and moved on, as if she hadn't spoken. She slowly lowered her hand. No one spoke to her for the rest of the meeting. That afternoon, a Slack message pinged from a colleague she had mentored last year. "Hey, just a heads up, people are saying you made the room really uncomfortable." The next Monday, Denise received an email from HR. It read like a form letter, but hit hard. "We'd like to schedule a brief check-in regarding collaboration dynamics." She was also informed she'd be stepping off the flagship campaign team to balance workloads. The replacement? A junior associate who had shadowed her for 2 weeks. Her access to project folders was revoked. Her name disappeared from the email threads she had once led. No one said she was wrong. No one challenged her numbers. But they didn't have to. Their silence did the work. Denise sat through it all with the same calm face she'd worn for years. But that night, she started saving receipts, emails, notes, screenshots, not out of spite, but because she understood something clearly now. Speaking up, even once, was enough to be pushed quietly off track. Still, she didn't stop working, didn't stop delivering, didn't stop noticing. Because in that cold space between retaliation and recognition, something real had begun. And she knew if she was going to be erased, she wouldn't let it happen quietly. The silence didn't stop her. It sharpened her focus. One quiet afternoon, while heating leftovers in the break room, Denise overheard two junior associates chuckling about a group chat thread. Curious, she returned to her desk and checked the internal Slack. Someone had leaked part of a salary spreadsheet into a private chat. She clicked on the file. There it was, a clear photo of a male employee's pay stub, hired 4 months ago, less experience. His monthly take-home, double hers. Denise stared at the screen. No one had tagged her. No one had said her name. But everyone knew. She opened her banking app, scrolled to her most recent deposit, took a screenshot. Her hands didn't shake. She didn't write a long caption. Just opened Twitter and typed, "6 years here." Still getting half the salary of someone who just walked in. She attached the image, hit post, locked her screen, and went back to her spreadsheet. For a moment, it felt like nothing happened. The office remained quiet, almost too quiet. Chairs creaked, phones rang, but no one looked her in the eye. 3 minutes later, her phone buzzed once. Then again, then it didn't stop. Notifications poured in, retweets, comments, mentions. By the end of the lunch hour, her tweet had passed 80,000 shares. The hashtag #PayTransparency was trending across the state. Activists, journalists, even public figures had picked it up. Her name was everywhere. Someone in HR tried calling her. She declined the call. A few team members peeked over their monitors, but quickly looked away when she glanced back. By 3 p.m., reporters were tagging the company account, demanding comment. A national labor rights group reposted her tweet with a caption, "This is why women of color stay underpaid. Silence. Until now." Internal chat channels locked down. The company's comms director, normally composed, was seen rushing out of a meeting red-faced, phone pressed to his ear. That afternoon, the corporate Twitter account was temporarily deactivated. The press inbox was full. Denise said nothing. She answered emails, completed her scheduled edits, closed out a storyboard. She didn't smile, didn't flinch, but the air had changed. People walked slower near her desk. Some glanced over, then away. A few looked like they wanted to say something, but didn't. She stayed until 6:30, logged off, picked up her coat, walked past the empty creative lounge. No one stopped her. But no one dared dismiss her anymore. The building that once absorbed her silence was now echoing with a noise she had released with one quiet sentence. And for the first time, they weren't the ones controlling the narrative. The tweet didn't just go viral, it cracked something open. By 9 a.m. the next morning, the executive board at the parent company had called for an urgent internal audit. HR was ordered to compile salary records and present a full comparative breakdown across departments. What they found wasn't just a fluke, it was a pattern. The documents showed that Denise Allen, with 6 years of experience and award-winning campaigns under her belt, was earning significantly less than her peers. Not just the new hire, almost every male employee at her level, regardless of tenure, made more than she did. Some by 20%, some by nearly double. The numbers made it up the chain in less than 24 hours. When the CEO saw the original tweet, he didn't forward it. He printed it, carried it into his morning briefing, and said, "I want to speak to her today." Denise received the meeting invite just after her lunch break. She didn't ask questions. She accepted it. Walked into the top floor conference room with a manila folder in her hand. Inside, 6 years of quarterly reviews, metrics, campaign data, and a list of accomplishments. She laid it on the table. "I'm not here to apologize," she said, calm, precise. "This is my record. It speaks for itself." The CEO didn't argue. By end of day, a formal statement was released. The company would adopt a transparent salary structure, clearly tied to role, performance, and tenure, regardless of gender or race. Pay scales would be retroactively adjusted. Future offers required cross-departmental review for equity. The head of HR was placed on immediate administrative leave. An investigation was launched into historical evaluation practices. More departments began raising concerns. Old complaints resurfaced. What started as one tweet had become a reckoning. Meanwhile, Denise's inbox was flooded. More than 30 job offers landed within the first week. Communications firms, advocacy groups, streaming platforms, even a few universities. Some wanted to hire her, others just wanted to hear her speak. She didn't say yes to any of them right away. She waited. A week later, an independent media outlet published a feature story titled, "She Didn't Yell, but Everyone Heard Her." The article went viral, not because it was sensational, but because it was simple. It told the truth. And this time, no one could look away. 3 months after the tweet, Denise Allen handed in her resignation. No party, no farewell speech, just an email with 2 lines and a forwarding address. On her last day, she cleaned out her desk before most people arrived. The office was quiet, but when she returned from dropping off her badge, something had changed. Her desk wasn't empty. There were letters, folded notes, some scribbled on yellow legal pads, others on company stationery. No names on most, just words. "Thank you for not being quiet like the rest of us. You spoke when we didn't know how. I stayed because you showed it's possible." She read them slowly, packed them carefully, and didn't say a word to anyone. By then, her Twitter following had grown past 500,000. Her pinned post wasn't about injustice. It was a quote from a favorite author. "You don't owe the world noise, you owe it truth." Boom, one of the most respected indie content studios in the country, offered her a role as strategic director. The email subject line simply read, "We'd like to build with you." She declined every interview request. No podcast appearances, no book deal, no speaking circuit. She posted only once more that month. "I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to live by the value I've earned." The post was liked over 300,000 times. Back in her old office, no one dared move into her desk right away. For weeks, it stayed untouched. Until one morning, someone pinned a piece of paper to the cubicle wall, printed in clean black letters. She left quietly, but not the same kind of quiet as before. Denise didn't look back. She walked out just as she had walked in, on her own terms, straight-backed, silent, and seen. Denise Allen didn't slam a desk. She didn't yell. She didn't cry in front of injustice. She posted a single tweet and let the truth take it from there. This story isn't just about a paycheck. It's about a system that's grown comfortable dismissing the quiet ones, and about one Black woman who made it shift by standing fully in her worth. If you've ever been underestimated because you didn't look or sound like the majority, don't stay silent just to keep the peace. Let your silence be the moment that wakes the room. If you believe justice begins with someone daring to say what no one else will, then share this video. Click like, leave a comment, and subscribe to Black Excellence so you don't miss the stories that move hearts and open eyes. Thank you for watching till the end. We'll see you in the next video.